Welcome to Strength Chat Podcast, presented by Kabuki Strength. Introducing your hosts, Chris Duffin, the mad scientist of strength, Rudy Cadlow, mature athlete and coach, and the wizard of training himself, Brandon Sen.
Welcome to Strength Chat with your host, that's right, myself, Chris Duffin, the mad scientist of strength. To my right, the one, the only, the wizard in the closet.
Out of it.
I got it because you got that name on our first drinking podcast, and we're drinking today. So
we're back in the closet.
There we go.
Fun fact.
There.
The
Time for you
closet's
to
right there.
pour yourself some. We're
He's
good.
got a
We're good to
pretty.
go.
Looks like he's pretty young, but he's got a pretty good beard going.
Gotta live up to the
He started
name.
growing that when he was 2.
Yeah. I gotta compensate for whatever is not on
Your
top.
lack of testosterone.
I gotta finish the intros here, guys. And to my left, Dr. Rudolph, our mature athlete and coach.
We thought you might screw that up because I'm left instead of right. And
I'm okay. You know, I'm fully capable of knowing what's going on here right now. As a whole, I have literally no idea what else is going on in my life because something about this last month and a half, is just been.
yeah, we went through that with you. I understand. Well, you
Well-
still know your left from your right, so that's good.
yeah.
What's going on underneath this table is the most important thing.
That's why
But,
we didn't put a board up in front.
For our audience sake, I think last podcast we talked about. I think Rudy and I went out to the spring training with MLB folks, and we bounced around from there to San Diego. I went to New Mexico, and so pretty busy.
Arizona State.
Arizona State. Lifted with some members of the Patriots, and
Mexico.
anyway, whatever. So
John Jones.
John Jones.
So I get back and I squatted 800 pounds. Started squatting while I would think it was in New Mexico, and I got back and I started this fundraiser. Because Coach Cass said, "Hey, we should do something with the Special Olympics," and we're like, "Yeah, let's hold some meets, let's raise some money, let's raise some awareness around Special Olympics powerlifting." So I thought, brilliant idea. Since I've squatted 800 the last 3 days, I'll just keep doing it for the next 30, right? Yeah.
Dumb idea.
Yeah, that was a pretty dumb idea. I literally had no idea. There was nothing else going in my life by the last couple weeks. I literally, I wasn't thinking straight. I wasn't doing anything around here. These guys were carrying all my weight.
I'm
More than
honestly a
normal.
little upset that you didn't die because I told you not to do it.
Brandon did.
A couple more weeks.
Brandon did
warned you.
distinctly.
He warned
did-
you.
He's like, you're gonna die.
Brandon did distinctly tell me not to do it.
He hadn't squatted for a year
You
before
wanted to
that.
say I told you so.
Yeah.
What'd you get for that? The 800 pounds for 30 days. What'd you get at the end of that?
I think we were at $6,000
well,
at the
that's
time,
awesome.
and a lot of people don't even know that powerlifting is a part of the Special Olympics. So just raising awareness around that was a big piece of that. So, and then so I finish it on Saturday, and I fly out at 6 a.m. Sunday to head up to a place I haven't been for 35 years. Up in the mountains in Northern California with this hippie family that I lived with growing up. It was like this commune-style living up there in the mountains. I think we got snowed and stuck in there one time. No running water, no electricity, all that good stuff. So California moves a little slow. Northern California moves a little slow. So 35 years later, the house is finished. It's not tar paper anymore, so that's good. There's water from a spring. There's generators. But it was Wayback Machine. So straight from not thinking straight, jumping on a plane, in this Wayback Machine, mentally.
And you woke up going, where am I? What the hell has happened here?
Yeah, yeah. So I was up there, stayed the night up there, and then Monday drove down to San Francisco, hung out with Kelly Starrett, which he's high energy all over the place.
Oh, my God.
You
Makes you feel
don't
lazy.
get your head. You don't exactly. You're just dizzy being around Kelly. So we're filming nonstop for 2 days, and then I'm back here now. So
Here we are.
I have no idea what's going on. I'm lost.
Well, do you know who this gentleman is?
I do know who this gentleman is.
Okay, well, why don't you introduce
I was
him?
gonna.
Just
I was
do
getting-
that.
I was getting
I would
there.
help you.
See how he snuck in a little feel there? Those are not
wanna
free.
see
Those
what
are
the
not
results are
free,
like.
my friend.
You're a lot
All that
smaller
carnivore
than me. You're
diet.
a mere shadow of your former self.
I know. All right. I got enough with the jokes. Don't make me get back on that bulk.
So this is really awesome today because this is our first video podcast in our new podcasting studio, and I can't think of a better guest to have than kind of my my long-term friend and
Been around for a while, haven't we?
fellow podcaster. And he was just recently on Joe Rogan, so like
That
this
was
is a
cool.
big step up for him to be on Strength Chat. And
That's huge opportunity.
We forget what the name of this podcast is every other time, so this is a big deal.
Hey,
welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you, guys.
Mark Smelly Bell.
Thank you guys so much. It was, it's awesome coming up here, having the opportunity to see what you guys have going on. And I'm glad that you mentioned he's a doctor, because I was like, man, what are these white gloves for? And why are my pants around my ankles? I didn't know
He
what
pulled that again.
Wait, what?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
Nothing. That's
where
he
that,
was doing some
cue
inspection. It's okay.
Prison defense came from, I think.
But no, a really cool facility, and cool to see how you guys make some of this stuff work. And just congratulations, man. Congratulations to both you guys, putting this whole thing together. It's really fucking cool.
It's coming along. It's kind of exceeded our expectations.
Yeah, and Mark, you and I were talking just a little bit ago. I mean, it was 3 years ago. I was on your podcast in April, I think, or March.
Yeah.
And it was a month later that I quit like my full-time career of 20 years that was very secure and it was a good place to
And I
be.
had this little heart-to-heart.
And-
Can we do it? Should we do it? Okay, go for it.
Yeah.
How much whiskey was involved in that decision? And
I
do you
remember
regret it?
even when you were in Sacramento at that time, you were really stressed, and you were going back and forth with them on some stuff, and it just seemed like it was, you could just see it on people. You see people often, and you become friends with somebody, you kind of see that they're wearing it, and that's an awful feeling to have. And anytime I get the opportunity to try to coach somebody away from a job or something that's really overly stressing them out, still might be a good opportunity. There might be some good pay. There could be some good benefits to the job or the education that they're getting. But if I see someone overly stressed out, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Why don't you think about doing something else?
Like go for a walk.
Honestly, that's one reason. Like I said, I call you a friend, and like I'm glad to have you on the show here. Is you call yourself the people's coach, but you're more interested in coaching kind of around like improvement in life,
Yeah,
and like
100%.
than just like, oh, here's how to bench press. And so I've always appreciated that about you.
That's what I'm interested in. I'm interested
So
in
Chris,
how.
let's toast.
Oh.
This is pretty close to our 3-year anniversary
Yeah.
of Kabuki Strength.
Yeah.
You guys are
we
starting
haven't
this kind of
toasted that,
early.
so let's do that. It's five.
all right.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
And luckily, there's no carbs in here, so this is straight whiskey. So we're okay, right?
No carbs, but methyl testosterone, from my understanding.
Did you clean the glass?
No, I didn't.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Might test positive. Anyway.
Well, this will get us warmed up. That'll loosen the tongues.
Whoa.
Indeed. So tell us what it's like. I mean, you've been on Joe Rogan a couple times now.
Yeah.
What's that experience like behind the scenes?
Unbelievable guy. I mean, you talked about Kelly Starrett moving at a fast pace. I just even noticed that observing Joe Rogan. From one room to the next, boom, boom, boom. Hey guys, let's podcast, boom. And the podcast, it did take a while to get through. We talked about a lot of stuff, and we were there for a few hours. But man, that guy is. It's funny to say about a comedian. He's a professional comedian. He kind of.
Right.
Some people lose sight of that, and I think that's truly what he's the most gifted at. People get to see the podcast, and people get to see him on UFC, and what a hell of a commentator he is too. But how good he is at some of those other things, and how hard he can throw a damn kick, and how good he is in martial arts and jiu-jitsu and all these other things, I think his greatest talent is as a comedian. I've got the chance to see him perform, and anybody listening to this ever gets an opportunity, you got to go see the guy. It's unbelievable. You'll be inspired by it. And for me to see that up close really means a lot to me. I love seeing how people's minds work when it comes to them wanting to be the best at something. And that's the question I'm going to always ask people. I care about how you got your squats. I care about some of these things, but I want to know the mindset behind it. I want to know what's making you tick to make these giant-ass trucks. Is it just you're overcompensating for something? Or
Definitely.
I can tell you for a fact.
what's the real driver? What's the real driving force, behind some of those things? So I love to see, high-level people like Joe Rogan. I love seeing, what's making them tick? What's making them kick ass in so many different aspects of their life?
What's the common thing across all the people you've run into that you think is
Yeah.
what's the
It's the
thing?
common thing that most people would assume, is that there's no there's no commonality when you talk about, I don't even know if that's a word, but we're going to use it. There's no commonality with
You're good.
Anything's a word.
It's a good word.
with anybody that's excelling or anybody that's succeeding, except for they put in their work.
Well, yeah, they're willing to do the things that unsuccessful people don't do.
Right.
Or won't do.
Right. Yeah, and so that's the thing that I'm always looking at. It's like you're going to get negative comments. People are going to try to tear you down, and are you going to spend time over there, or are you going to shrug it off and try to keep walking forward? For me, it's a very simple concept. It's just one foot in front of the other each and every day, and that's what I see from the people that I'm around. My brother is one of my greatest inspirations. My dad is one of my greatest inspirations, and I try to share with people, be a little careful on who you're super excited about, because we don't really truly know these people. People that you see, even myself, you see me on social media, you don't know. You just don't know. I might be saying one thing, I might be doing another, right? I try to be transparent, but you don't know what people are doing. So I personally love having heroes that are in my own household. My wife's a hero to me. My dad's a hero to me. My brother, change is one of the really hard things to do in life. And it's really cool to see someone go from an 800-pound deadlift to a 900-pound deadlift. But what's even more amazing is to see somebody that has 2 rods in their lower back because they had some sort of accident when they were young. They were always counted out their whole life, and now they're deadlifting 405 for the first time. Because that's a huge change. Going from 800 to 900, maybe that person has always had some great gifts, and of course they worked really hard. They put a lot of time in the gym, and the progress is fantastic, but it's really more just progress, and it's not a huge change. My brother has made some huge changes. He was addicted to drugs. He was addicted to alcohol, and unfortunately, my oldest brother, Mike, wasn't able to overcome it, and he passed away because of it. But my brother, Chris, if you guys are following his Instagram and kind of following along what he's doing, not only has he reversed all these things, not only has he been sober for about 4 years, he's starting to get jacked and he's starting to look fucking great. And he was fucking fat as hell. He was really unhealthy. I mean, we could have lost him too. So
well, you're not talking about just overcoming, but like he's done huge work out there to bring awareness around these things and to battle back against some of the issues that are leading to some of the opiate addictions. And
right.
So yeah, way beyond just like overcoming. Like he's really gone out there after that.
And you don't need to have a tragic story either. You don't need. It doesn't have to be this big thing.
You said that about followers. The whole Instagram social media thing has created a zillion followers. People are following somebody, but be careful who you follow. Right? Mm-hmm. Who's your leader?
100%.
If you don't know the leader, be careful if how
well,
closely you follow it.
Just even think of the word follower.
Yeah. Who wants to be a follower?
I was popping around on Instagram the other day, and there's a guy, David Goggins. He's been on Joe Rogan's podcast before.
Is that the Navy SEAL?
Navy SEAL guy, just a real badass. Somebody that I found great inspiration from. But I looked at his Instagram, and it says followers 0, and I was like, there's something kind of cool about that, which is really hard. It's really hard to do that because when people find out that you're not following or you're unfollowed, I mean, I had to do that many times over just so that I'm keeping a pattern of people that are directly kind of in my scope and directly. It has nothing to do with us being friends because that would mean I would delete your number from my phone. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, all right, well, this guy's out of here.
You talking about me?
Yeah, I am talking about.
Just to clarify. All right.
But you do have to be careful. It is you're following somebody, and I think if you get motivation from it, that's one thing. But if you are trying to build too many other things from it, it could potentially be dangerous sometimes. You got to be careful on who you're looking up to, I guess.
Especially in the strength world, I think a lot of, especially newer lifters, are comparing themselves to lifters who have been doing it forever or who are super accomplished lifters, and they either expect it to happen quickly or they just stop because they're like, I'm not that guy.
It's crazy people professional lifters. Yeah.
No, I was just talking about this. I think with Kelly. So it's just you look at back in the day. If you're a 400-pound bencher, you're stronger than anybody in the gym. You're stronger like everybody around. But now with the advent of social media, the internet, everything it's in your front face. These incredible lifters, they're doing. But it might have taken them 20, 30 years to get there. Might be a huge level of genetic ability, all these things. And it's it looks like there's all these people. It's I'll I'll never be at that level. I'll never when you could be incredibly strong, but you're like the reality is you could be the strongest person in your state and then still be looking online and going, oh my God, I'll never amount to anything because you have the ability to see this incredible talent from around the globe, and it might be a half a dozen people.
A lot of
they're
times,
right there, but that's big when it's right there on your,
A lot of times, the stronger that we are, sometimes the weaker that we are in some other area because we're chasing after one singular thing. You've done 1,000-pound deadlift. When you chase after that 1,000-pound deadlift, what might happen to some of the other aspects of your life? I mean, even we'll just keep it in the gym, but inside the gym, maybe you lose your ability to do conditioning work for a while.
Well, we lost the couch out there because he wouldn't get off of it outside of deadlifting. It's pretty frustrating, honestly.
And what a huge sacrifice to lose a couch.
We all sacrificed a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, but that's something that needs to be looked at. And when you see somebody like Larry Wheels, putting up 600 pounds in a bench press, and I think he's squatting almost 900 and pulling 900.
He's pulling
630.
930,
Squatted mid eights or something. I mean, all you can do is applaud the guy. Unbelievable results, and some of the things that you've done over the years, some of the things that you see Dan Green doing. But I think that sometimes people don't know, what happened for that person to get there, and there's absolutely nothing wrong. And some people might think, oh, it's a loser mentality, or there's nothing wrong with saying that ain't me. I'm inspired and motivated by that, and I know that it took him decades to work towards that, so I'm going to take decades to work towards my goal, but that ain't me. Part of knowing who you are is knowing who you're not and figuring out a lane to actually pick. You mentioned this.
Powerlifting is like life. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yeah.
You can't get there tomorrow.
You guys don't need 485 SKUs. Right? You need to just concentrate on what are we good at? What's our core competency? How do we continue to do well with that? And so what? Fuck everybody else. They want to copy, they want to make a pain pill, and they want to make some of these other things that you brought to the forefront with your knowledge and your education and your background with Rudy. You know what? I wouldn't worry about a lot of those things. Just as we said in professional wrestling, let's say Rudy is wrestling, right? And say he wrestles before me, and you wrestle before me too, and he works the arm. It's like wrestling's got a particular story they're trying to tell, right? So he's working the arm, and you see the guy pound the arm and ram his arm into the post and do all these things. The guy's selling the shoulder hurts and everything. And let's say you do the neck, right? And let's say that beforehand, I was planning on doing the arm, and I saw him go because I'm watching in the back. That's what we're supposed to do. Out of respect, we're supposed to watch what everybody else does. We're also supposed to continue to learn. And so I'm watching every move you make, making sure I'm not going to mimic too much of what he does, or just I'm even learning from his attributes. And so then I'm like, oh, fuck, all right, well, he did the arm, so all right, maybe I'll do a match that's going to work the neck. And then I see you go, and you do the neck, and I'm like, shit, now, okay.
What am I going to do?
Yeah, well, if I'm skilled, I can do whatever I want. That's the main thing. If I have a skill that I'm confident in, I can work the arm and the neck. I could do whatever I want. If I just do it better, people are going to forget about you guys. And you look at what Facebook has done. I know they've run into some problems recently, but Facebook's not the first. They were just the best. Yep. They were just the best at executing what they do. And that's where the magic is. How do we? Okay, this is really cool. We sold $50,000 worth of product, or whatever that number is. How do we turn that into $500,000? How do we turn that into $5 million? How do we, right? How do you keep climbing the ladder? And when you look at what some other people have done, like Bill Phillips is somebody that came to my gym, had him on the podcast. I want to say that he did some outrageous number. It was like he did $500,000 a day for a month or something. I mean, just, you know what I mean? It's like, holy shit, man. How do you get that level of execution going? Yeah. Pretty remarkable.
Well, I think, one thing that's missed there, and you kind of hit on it, though, too, is, it's not just choosing who you are and what you want to do, but choosing what you're not going to do.
Yeah.
There's people, they want to dominate the world and, all these different, I want to do this and this and this and this. If you want to be exceptional at something, it's one of the hardest things to do is actually picking what you're not going to do. because
Yeah.
you've got to make those sacrifices. Like if you're going to be a Dan Green or a Larry Wheels, like in that regard, or in business or where,
Yeah.
like there's things that you can't do everything and be exceptional at everything.
You know, that's when people talk about ignore the noise. You know, you kind of hear people use that phrase, ignore the noise, you know, and that's specifically what they're talking about. They're not talking about negativity, because negativity, I think you should let that stuff come inside your head, and you should actually try to understand it and go ahead and use it as fuel if you want. Oh, Chris Duffin, you use straps or whatever the fuck they're gonna make. They're gonna make up anything. They're gonna see you being successful, and they're gonna find something to try to ridicule you about. But I personally love using that as ammo. You know, you just keep loading up that gun, and at some point, you'll have enough ammo to take out every motherfucker that's in your way.
I remember when you first launched the slingshot, the couple years following that, like online, people would be like, "Oh, that's just blah blah blah. I can do that with.
Yeah.
I can't." It was just like you'd go on like different forums, and people would just be like, these people that don't even know you, like bashing
Right.
you, and you like did never go back and respond or attack them, but you're just like, you know, like. You could see that it was fueling what you did. Like,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you know, and you don't have to always say anything back. You know, I use the Tom Brady example. Tom Brady, they said, you know, they said to him, "Hey, would you love to go back to Michigan?" Michigan is where he played his college football, and it was always a rough thing figuring out whether he was going to be the full-time starter or not. They would play the other quarterback all the time, and that guy would excel. That guy would do pretty good. But every time Tom Brady came in, they actually won. And they actually would make comebacks, because Tom Brady, from the time he was a little kid, has always been a winner. He's always been been able to figure it out, right? As he got older, they had him in this interview after he won a couple Super Bowls, and they're like, "Hey, you ever want to go back and say, 'Hey, you fucks, you know, I told you so'?" And he goes, "I don't have to." And that's
I don't.
yeah, kill them with silence, and kill them with a smile, and they'll know what's up. You got a $20,000 square foot facility. That's a gym that has every piece of equipment that you can possibly imagine to be stronger. That's free. I mean, they'll see the writing on the wall.
Yep.
I think so many of those people too. It's all like self-projection, right? All that negativity that comes out, and it seems
Yeah,
like
that's a big part of it.
people don't quite know either who they are or what they even like, and they're looking, like we talk about people following other people on social media. It seems like you know, they're really looking for someone to tell them, you know, what they should like or what they should enjoy. I mean, that's how all the algorithms are built on there. It's like show you things you look at frequently. So it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy in that sense.
You know, social media does some really nasty things. They'll even hold back the likes,
Yeah.
because they know that every crumb that they give you, if they just continue to give you crumbs all the time, you're probably not going to come back, because you're going to be full. You might be satisfied. So they hold on to those crumbs, and they make you keep clicking back. You're like, it only has 25 likes. That can't be possible. And you reload, and you check it later, and you check it later, and check it later until, you know, it has whatever the hell, you know, shuts you up or satisfies you about it for that moment.
Social media is a crazy thing.
It can cause a lot
it's
of...
causing people to
It's
be
crazy.
Yeah, and people get. I mean, we're changing the musculature in our skeletal system. I think in the last couple of
'Cause of the
generations,
neck.
with the way people are looking at
Yeah.
all the
Yeah,
time.
but it's a positive thing though too. I mean,
can be.
Like look at what we do and look what Mark does. Like we have
Mm-hmm.
a vision for helping people be better, both in a little bit different spectrums but in the same space. And we're able to reach people around the globe with that message, and the people that
Right.
I mean, think about the emails and comments we get back of like getting people out of back pain, changing their life. Like some random person in New Zealand or
Yeah.
Austria or wherever, like that would never have the availability to that information or to get the exposure to it that reach that. So I mean, it's a give or take. You got to learn how we're going to do it, and I think that that's one thing that you've done really well, Mark, is actually, you know, you were right on phase with like, you know, getting involved with social media with the launch as that became prevalent shortly after the launch of your
Right.
business, getting your podcast up and going and being successful, like all those pieces, but you know, trying to do good things with it. So
You know, if you look back, you know, to the beginning of some of our powerlifting career, you know, you'll kind of see that was the infancy of some of the social media that's going on, and people kind of forget sometimes. when they talk about social media, I think immediately what pops up in your head is Instagram, and then maybe secondly is Facebook, just because the younger population is on Instagram. There's still more people on Facebook, so that's still popular. Twitter's like playing third fiddle or so in there. There's Snapchat somewhere mixes into some of that. But people forget about YouTube. They forget about the power of YouTube. Think about when you go to really look something up.
That's
I
what
don't
started, isn't it?
I don't even Google stuff anymore. I YouTube it, and somebody might grab their phone. They might Google something, and I'll YouTube it. I'll get to the.
How do I do this? And
I'll
you
get
go
to the
YouTube.
answer so much faster than they will because you'll hear it right away in a quick video or something like that. And so, I recognize the importance of video, not for the reasons that it ended up being important, but I recognize the importance of video because I always thought that what we did was special. I always thought that what we did was really fucking cool. And that's just lifting heavy-ass weight. And it doesn't matter if you're an older guy or a younger guy
Did you
or,
just point at me when you said
or a chubbier guy. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
I'm winning that war on carbs, baby. I am killing and crushing all
You
carbs.
are the
So-
war
I
of
actually
carbs.
people
That's right.
so people don't know this. We should fill them in. All the carbs that I have to take off of stuff, all the bread, I send it to Duffin.
Yeah.
Well, Duffin's made this metal box that seals everything tight so it doesn't go
appreciate that.
stale. I ship it to him, and on a weekly basis, he just downs it. He got those extra calories.
It's like when you're a
he's
kid,
my
your
carb
mom said
sponsor.
all those
Yep.
kids in Africa
My
are
carb
starving.
sponsor.
Finish your meal because all those kids are starving. I said, what are you going to do? Send it to the kids in Africa?
I know that's what we should do with the war on
Who wants
carbs.
my leftovers?
Shoot it
Who
on.
wants all my baguettes?
Shoot it on over that way. But yeah, as I was saying, with just filming stuff, before YouTube was around, I started doing stuff on Putfile, which doesn't even exist anymore. But I just recognized that the stuff we were doing was special and that it was cool. And I was like, other people are going to want to know about this.
So what you're saying is you've got to decide what you are, who you are, and focus on that. Because you can make progress,
Yeah.
you can make things, but you can't make time. You have all
Well,
the
that-
time there's
here's-
going to be. So you better use it wisely.
So here's the thing, though. People that are using or wanting to get on social media and build a platform, they're all about they're like, I want to be a YouTuber. I want to be famous on Instagram. But that's an out. Like, what do you want to do? Why do you want to be a YouTuber? Like you don't just go, I want to be and then let's pick something. You need to be passionate about something and have something special you want to share to be successful.
Right now,
you gotta
there's a
start
lot of,
there. And
I
then
think,
and then it's okay. Here's a platform. It could be YouTube. It could be this. It could be that. But yeah, definitely agree with you on the video content because we started. I didn't have Instagram or any of that. I started it really late because I didn't understand the importance of it. But it was we started with basically YouTube as well. So.
Yeah.
There's a book that we've all read. It's by Simon Sinek. It's called Start With Why. Have you read that? It's a great book
I've
for
not.
all our listeners if you haven't read it. But really, that's the main focus of it is start with why you do something. Why did you start a company? Why do you powerlift? Why do you exist? Start with that, not what you do or how you do it, but why do you do it?
I would even challenge people too to go a couple questions deep with that. Your answer is I want to inspire people. Well, go a little deeper. Why? Yeah, why do you want to inspire people? Or even if it's about money, hey, it's okay. It's okay to be transparent and want to make money, but what's the money going to enable you
What's
to
it
do?
going to do? Yeah.
Yeah, because the money might provide financial freedom for you to expand and do other things. Maybe it turns out that you do want to help starving people in other parts of the world. Maybe it is that you want to just have a free gym, or who knows what it's for. But you start to answer some of those questions, and back to your point about getting some of these messages up on YouTube. In the beginning, that's all it was about for me. I kept it really simple. There was no marketing team. It was my wife and myself, and we were figuring it out day by day. And I've always been the kind of person that puts the cart before the horse, because I'm like, I'm just going to pull that myself. I'll figure it out. I made this product. I'm going to post it up on YouTube. My wife's like, I don't know if that's, patent law and so on. I'm like, you know what? The hell with all that. We are.
We're going.
Yeah.
I think that's how you and Chris are probably the most similar.
Yeah, we are. We're going.
We're like, stop.
we're going.
wait a second.
I don't care how far back.
Think through this.
Yeah. to me, that stuff's important because it's not about being an entrepreneur. It's about being a pioneer, and you're trying to lead the way. You're trying to lead the charge. I'm not trying to lead the charge for the whole industry. I'm trying to lead the charge for my family. I'm trying to lead the charge for the people that are in my circle. I was talking to Rudy earlier, and for me, it's about, and Chris, actually, I mentioned it to you too, about providing more opportunity for the people that work for me. I want them, I want to hear stories from them. Like I heard a story from one of my employees the other day. He's like, yeah, we went out to this really nice dinner. The bill came, and it was the biggest bill I've ever seen for dinner. And I was like, I got it. No problem. That kind of shit makes me feel so good. Or a couple of the employees have been driving around, and they traded in their old car and stuff like that, and they're driving newer vehicles and stuff. That is unbelievable. It does increase the level of stress when you're responsible for somebody's Thanksgiving and Christmas and all these different things. But man, is it fucking fun.
I don't know what you're talking about. No
Is that
stress
why
involved.
your heart hurts, Rudy? We were talking about that earlier.
I told you my resting heart rate has been up lately.
And you're slowly getting a little redder too. You should calm down a little over there.
There's
more
another,
whiskey.
There's another. Actually, I can go with more whiskey.
Hey now.
What's do we have a protocol around here for whiskey frequency?
Not for podcasting. I haven't done my research yet.
I think it's time to.
We might have to. You might have to text Andre to do some more. Get a run in here.
Whiskey run?
Yeah, whiskey. Well, we've got like 100 bottles in the office.
Why don't
so
you?
we're okay.
What are we? What kind are we
may have
drinking
to break
today?
out a deadlift bar here in a second.
We're running low. Look at that. We tapped it.
Yep.
Oh darn.
So there was something else that you mentioned there, like though that, and both these guys were like, hold back, because I'm the same way. Like, just let's go charging in, let's get it done, and you didn't have the patent figured out, you didn't have any of that, and like people ask us all the time, how is it with getting patents and doing this before you go out, and a lot of times I know it needs done, and we work on it, and we get our trademarks, we get patents as appropriate and whatnot, but it's always a little after the fact. And that's okay. I'm not worried about that little ass of protection, because if people are chasing us, they'll never be what we're going to be.
Yeah.
Because they're chasing where you were.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is a lesson I learned. It's actually this is kind of, Toyota's had its ups and downs as of recent, but it was a pretty dominant force for a long time, and came from a war-torn country to being a premier, company that like everybody else in the industry was copying.
Right.
Everybody. And they were okay with it. Like, come into our factories. Come on in. We'll teach you what we're doing. Go ahead and study. Take the courses and teach them all around the world. They weren't worried, because they were working on the next thing as far as innovation of improving their processes.
Right.
And like, if you guys are spending all this time chasing where we were, you'll never be where we're at.
That's 100%. And you think about some of the things that people have done over the years, and they seem asinine. And when you try to break them down, you're like, wow, that is pretty fucking crazy. For example, Nike. You think back and think about, what did Nike sell people?
And you got to read. Have you read the Shoe Dog book?
I do not read books.
Okay, it's audio.
Well, none of us read it
Yeah.
either.
It's audio. It's audio book. I didn't
I
read it.
barely did.
Yeah. Oh man, because it's our industry.
Yeah.
In a sense, fitness.
That's local,
but
too.
the story. Well, and for us, it's all based in Portland. You should listen to that book. It is incredible. Anyway.
Well,
go ahead.
I do love I do love the story. I mean, it's great that is it Phil Knight? Is that his name?
Yeah,
right?
Phil Knight, yeah.
Yeah, Phil. I love the story that Phil Knight was a material expert in that space, and that's a big reason why they became so big, and a big reason why people couldn't catch up to him. But as you were saying, like people are chasing after something that he did, but they also don't realize that he did something at a certain period of time, but he's also 17 steps ahead of where he was before. And so those other people are going to have a really hard time ever catching up. But think about, just break it down into its simplest form. Obviously, Nike they did a lot of great things strategically, getting Bo Jackson, Michael Jordan. I mean, that's just, I don't think we'll see anything like that happen again. Those two guys had such an impact on a company that it'll probably never be matched.
When you read the book, though, they really went out on the limb. And their first athlete they brought on, they had to scrape together. They paid $5,000 for the first athlete, and they didn't have $5,000 in the bank.
See, that's
They
again,
committed to it.
putting
They
that
said, "We're
putting
gonna
that
do it.
cart
We're
before the
going-
horse.
We're going to make a commitment," and they did it. It's a fascinating book. You should read, because it's so about entrepreneurship.
yeah.
But you think about what they actually sold. They sold you air. Nike Air Jordan. They sold you air. They put a fucking air bubble inside of a shoe. Think about this. Think about all four of us are sitting here in the gym. We're about to go do a workout, right? Somebody comes in. Hey, you guys look like you're into athletics. Look like you're into lifting. Look like you're into X, Y, and Z. I'm sure you guys have all been athletes before. Sits down, pulls a shoe out of his backpack, and it's got an air bubble in it. We'd be like, get the fuck out of here. $80 for a fucking air bubble? You kidding me? What is this bullshit? But not only were they, they were so impactful with how they sold you on their technology that Reebok was like, oh my God, air. We got to pump air into a shoe too. And so they made the Reebok pump.
Yeah,
But it just goes to show you that if you have a mission and you have something that you want to sell people, as long as you feel good about it, you can sell people on just about anything. It's about the execution that's behind it.
Or getting it done and starting. I think I know I've been guilty of this, and our whole company, or at least our main management crew, took a personality test or assessment a while ago, and we definitely found out that Chris is basically, starting just a bunch of stuff everywhere.
I'm called an arsonist. I
didn't want to bring that out,
but
But is that really what it's called?
Yeah,
that's
literally
my
what they call them in the thing.
personality
Everyone,
You're not going to be a firefighter anytime soon.
yeah.
So fires and run away. All right, guys, clean
Figure
it
it
up.
out.
Figure it out. I'm off to the next one.
Giant fire going on.
The whole
You guys better get that figured out fast.
Man, it looks like
it's conflagration.
Well, it's like when I started in this industry as a personal trainer, it was not uncommon to get clients who were like, "Hey, I got to lose weight before I start with you." I was like, "Yeah, that's what we are doing here." You know? People want to have like this big plan, and I definitely am guilty of that. Wanting to have this nice plan written out and then execute it. When really you just kind of have to start. Because there's so many unknowns that you're going to run into and change. Like how often have you started like even a project where you're building something, like the thing you sought out to build, it's not the end product ever, so
Right.
you kind of just got to start. And that's definitely something that I'm learning.
Well, more ideas will come, and some ideas you will, as you mentioned, you'll start, and then you'll leave them off to the side. I'm sure some of the your prized possessions, the things that in this, the things that you've created, there's probably a couple like little gems in there that you made, you stopped. And for some reason, 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, you came back to it, and that ends up being like it might not be your number one selling thing, but it's like your favorite thing. It's like your baby. I've had that happen time and time again with some of the stuff I've made.
I mean, right now, your most recent release is your book, The War on Carbs, which
Right.
is something I remember you talking about years ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear so much. And
4 or 5 years ago, yeah.
And now like you're all about it. So
Yeah, and I've been doing ketogenic style diets from the time I was in high school, on and off. Obviously, for people get a little confused about powerlifting and performance. If you want maximum performance, you need carbohydrates. Maybe somebody can make an argument that you may need a little less than what you and I are dumping or we're dumping into our systems, but really. Your nutrition is important, but really you got to get a lot of calories in, and you got to be big to move
health
big
and
weights.
performance people think they're the same thing sometimes, especially people outside of our field, when they're obviously interlinked to some level,
100%,
but they're
yeah.
not the same thing.
No.
Yeah.
Well, and the problem with carbohydrates is just that, and people get pissed because they'll say addiction, but it is an addiction. They say about 50% of the people that are in the hospital are there from are there from basically just eating too much food. Yeah. And why do we eat too much food? It's not because we're eating too much spinach and too much steak. It's because we're indulging in the things that taste good, which I don't blame anybody. I was addicted to food too. This is about gaining control of your diet. So what I always suggest to people is try something for a little while. Just try it. Just try a couple days of eating some red meat, eating some eggs. You don't need to go overboard with the fat. You hear these people, saying 80% fat, and you don't need to go so crazy. But having the fat can help because it can help give you energy while you're in this carbohydrate restriction. And so for me, what it's always done is it's just given me control. And that's ultimately what we're looking for. We're looking for that in all aspects of our life. We want to go fast. We want to go hard. We want to be able to put up points on the scoreboard. But if we lose control anywhere, then the very mission that we had, the very thing, I mean, how often do you have these conversations with yourself? I don't know about you guys, but I'm almost like a coach to myself. I kind of have like a little pep talk sometimes about certain things that I want to do. By the time you wake up the next morning, those things are whoosh, they're right out the door because life hits you in the face and you're like, oh my God, I woke up half hour later than I wanted to. Oh my God, I got to get my daughter to school. Oh my God, I forgot I had this meeting. I forgot I had this. And you're just living each and every day behind.
Your whole goal for the day is shot before you got started.
It's gone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it happens a lot.
Well, how'd you come
Well,
up?
tell us about the carnivore diet that you're
Yeah.
experiencing.
Let's talk about like there's keto, there's carnivore,
There's paleo.
Yeah.
There's vegans.
Where does the war on carbs fall?
And what are we having for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, I know what we're having.
Yeah.
Bone marrow, steak tartare.
That sounds really good.
Oh yes.
So, if we just kind of let's just talk a little bit about nutrients for a second, because nutrients are really important, and people are just finally kind of catching on that we want to eat nutrient-dense foods. If we have nutrient-dense foods, we're talking about like heart, liver, brain. Who wants to eat all that? I don't know. Not everybody is. That might not be appetizing to Americans. Maybe other cultures eat that kind of stuff, right? The second thing we got some meat. Some red meat, and you can get like bison, or you can get all different kinds of stuff. But basically, it comes down to steaks and hamburgers, and that's some of the most nutrient dense foods that we have. When we have something that people don't realize is that when people are obese, they're actually normally nutrient deficient. You would think with the surplus of food that they would have all their bases covered, but then you find out that they're low in vitamin D, they're low in this, they're low in that. So it's never calories in, calories out, as people want to try to make it so plain to see. You had 500 calories and you burn 600, you're good. You're going to start to lose body fat or lose weight. Calories are a measure that we have, but it's not a great measure. And here's why it's not a great measure, because when we consume food, there's a hormonal response to those foods. What happens with carbohydrates over a long period of time of abuse of carbohydrates and overeating of carbohydrates and refined sugars. Fruits end up being in this weird category by themselves, and I'll talk about those in a second. But when we start to abuse our body with a lot of these things, it starts to disrupt not only the hormonal profile of our body, but it starts to disrupt our sleep. And you want a fast-acting way to reduce performance in the gym, then go ahead and fuck up your sleep. Once we start to interfere with our performance on a daily basis, now we're starting to interfere with a lot of the results that we could be getting. So we're really missing out on a lot. But also by abusing carbohydrates, we're spiking insulin levels up on a daily basis. Insulin is actually good. Insulin will help. I don't know all the science behind this, so if I say something a little off, I'm trying to just to simplify it. Insulin is something that's going to help shuttle a lot of the sugar that's in your body into the correct cells, normally into the muscles. But as we continue to produce more and more insulin, our body becomes insulin resistant, and we have to make more and more insulin to get a similar effect. Sometime at a certain point, that effect actually starts to diminish. Think about drinking coffee. You have 300 milligrams of caffeine, boom, it nails you. But if you do it every day, day in, day out, over a period of time, it's less effective. It has less impact on us. With these carbohydrates, the carbohydrates don't have less impact on us. They have more impact on us in a worse way because we're producing more and more insulin. Something that insulin has been shown to do is increase your hunger. So now we got this big sugar cycle that just looks like a giant circle. And we're now a slave to food because we're fucking hungry. And if you think about, have you guys heard of intermittent fasting?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
You guys heard about people talking about 12 hours, 14 hours, 24-hour fast, right? And you want to pull your hair out. You're like, what is this?
Duffin used to do that for a long time.
I did 5-6 years.
Yeah, so some people...
Back when I was a true 220.
Right.
Yeah.
So some people will freak out.
Not an internet 220.
Yeah, not an internet 220.
Real life 275.
So some people will freak out when they hear something like that. Like, fasting? No. We got to eat every, well, you do have to.
Hours.
You do have to feed your body quite a bit when your body is running off of sugar and off of carbohydrates, just because the hunger will be there so much. When you switch yourself into eating higher fats, there's nothing magical about it. A ketone doesn't do anything magical. It doesn't help you burn any more calories. Doesn't help you burn any more fat. At least that's what the research is showing for now. But it can help give you energy in the absence of carbohydrates. So it's taking over that part, and you don't have to worry about, bonking and feeling like shit. Although sometimes when you start to lose a lot of weight, maybe you will start to feel that way. But what you're doing is you're taking out that circle. You're cutting it out. You're cutting out.
We've been saying that for years. Fat doesn't make you fat. Carbohydrates make you fat.
Right.
When you get in that
It's
process,
it's plain it's plain and simple. People will get so frustrated at that statement, but it literally is a war on carbs. It's because it's not so much just the carbs; it's the processed food. Red meat isn't bad, but red meat is awful in conjunction with French fries and a chocolate shake. Carbohydrates are not bad, but the carbohydrates that we massively produce and we massively...
You want to be hungry all day, start your morning with a bowl of Frosted Flakes.
Right, and what does something like
two bowls
Frosted
then.
Flakes do to even just our tongue? Like, you put a Frosted Flake on your tongue and your tongue's dancing all around, right?
I'm dancing all around. It's
If you think
everything.
about, I always talk about Doritos, and there's actually a book called The Dorito Effect that some people have been tagging me on. They want me to read it because I talk about Doritos all the time. But a Dorito is like putting a fucking a battery on your tongue. You ever do that as a kid and you get that?
Yeah,
I mean, it creates so much sensation and so much impulse on your tongue. It's insane.
Do you miss
So-
Doritos?
Absolutely, I love Doritos. Take a couple Doritos, eat a few Doritos, and then go and do it while you're sitting down at the fanciest restaurant and the fanciest place in the world with the fanciest and best steak that you can possibly imagine. And after you finish some of those Doritos, take a bite of your steak and tell me how it tastes. We're desensitized to
There's
those
something about
flavors.
Doritos that I can only eat a couple of them. Like, it's like, oh, one, that's interesting, and two, three, like, I don't
Maybe
know,
it just-
it's I don't even know what this is. Now, Cheez-Its, on the other hand, now that's money.
Your body might be just telling you, like, hey, man, Doritos are going to kill you. You need to stop.
That is so true, though. When you do diet or in a severe deficit, you do start to appreciate foods you hadn't before.
Yes.
I went on a fairly aggressive cut for my last competition, and in the middle of it, I all of a sudden started liking sushi because I could taste it so much more. And now I'm totally over it. And I don't like sushi anymore.
back to
I'm
Frosted
back to
Flakes.
Frosted Flakes, but it does.
You would
it
be
gives-
surprised even how spinach feels.
Yeah.
When you start to really get rid of some of this other junk that's in your diet, you're like, oh my God, spinach has like a nutty flavor.
It's
I had
more of
no
an
idea.
experience for sure than just a
Right.
pattern. You can really experience the textures, the taste, the smells of food.
So what I just mentioned is a large reason why a low carbohydrate diet can really work. And I know a lot of people, they'll just take stuff off my Instagram. They'll take stuff off of Stan Efferding's Instagram with the vertical diet, and that's fine, and that's a great way to get started. And I'm all for that. But I really encourage you to just buy the book. Buy the book, The War on Carbs. It's $25, and it's going to help explain. Everything in there is just laid out for you. So again, I'm not on this diet for to try to perform a lot better in the gym. I made some
Just trying to
alterations.
promote the book, or-
Yeah, I'm just trying to promote it. Yeah, it's just all.
What are you peddling here?
It's just all
This is
fluff.
strength chat.
Yeah, just trying to get leaner, just trying to be in better shape, trying to be
So you've
healthier.
dropped, you were telling me earlier, you've dropped a lot of weight since you started
Yeah.
this. Like 60 pounds in the first
Yeah,
8 months or something?
Yeah, it's been about 80 pounds. Yeah, I started out at about 300. The heaviest I've ever been in my powerlifting career was 330, and I got down to 230 just so I had that gap of 100
You could say
pounds.
I lost 100 pounds.
Yeah, but I did lose about 80 pounds. I was working on a 600-pound raw bench for a while, and things were looking good. I was hitting some monster numbers, ran into a couple injuries in the elbow, ran into a couple injuries in the pec. Was never able to accomplish that 600-pound raw bench that I wanted. And so I was 300 pounds, and I'm like, you know what? I really need to make a change. And as I mentioned earlier, I've been on a ketogenic style diet on and off since the time I was a kid. And so I was like, you know what? Time to go back on the war on carbs and try to lose that weight again. And so it's worked really well for me. And the reason why it has worked so well for me and a lot of other people is because of the habits. That's really ultimately, we're talking about control, and we're talking about how do we build some habits. And a way that you can build some habits is to have things that can be sustainable. So sometimes somebody might be like, oh man, no carb diet's not sustainable. Well, it's pretty damn sustainable when you get to eat steak, hamburgers with cheese and bacon on it, omelets. I mean, there's a lot of really nice choices that you get. You are cutting out a lot of great things. Unfortunately, alcohol doesn't play into the diet very well, although you can.
Busted his diet today. With
Yeah.
that.
It's all right.
It's
Well, so whiskey
We'll go on
and
another walk.
the war on whiskey. You'll have a mutiny on your hands if you do that.
well, some of the harder alcohols, they don't really truly have carbohydrates in them, and so they're not going to. What I don't want people to do is to worry about being ketogenic. And Chris was mentioning all these different diets. You got the Paleo Diet, which basically, from Rob Wolf, Paleo Solutions, just told people and taught people, get rid of all this bullshit in your life and just see how you start to feel when you get rid of a lot of junk. You start to pull all these things out. Like, even if you like milk, just pull it out of your diet for a little while. See how you feel. Even if you like cheese, pull it out of your diet for a little while. See how you feel. Even if you like gluten and you're lean and you feel good about yourself, just pull it out of your diet for a minute and see how you feel. Caffeine, alcohol, all these things. Just admit, put your hand up and be like, yep, I'm probably guilty. I probably consumed too much caffeine. And it's going to suck 2 or 3 days down the road, but in the end, you'll be better off because you'll have better knowledge about yourself. So we're really trying to form habits, and we're really trying to gain control. Once we gain control, and once we have better habits, we can reintroduce carbohydrates. We don't have to be it doesn't have to be a war on carbs 24/7 for the rest of your life. So for me right now, I've reintroduced some fruit. I have pineapple, I have apples, I have oranges, I have orange juice sometimes. And so those in fruit is actually it's in its own weird category. But basically, the more fruit that you eat, they kind of have shown more recently in some studies that the more that you can tolerate more carbs due to the fructose. In short, fruit has cofactors in it that will help you absorb those carbohydrates. It's actually even been proof that potassium.
Actually, they sell it even in supplements, like it's like the pectin in the apple or something like that.
Yeah, some of the fibers and stuff.
Will actually, like, if you take it, will reduce like your total calorie content through the day by actually passing those carbs through your gut, not having them absorbed, and it's basically just like extract of apple rind or something like that.
I mean, it turns out that these things that are hanging off of trees that are really bright, that somebody might find while they're hunting for some other animal,
The garden
back a long time ago. You have this really appealing bright orange or apple or whatever it is. Take a bite of the orange, you're like, oh my God, it tastes like shit. You unwrap it, and there it is. There's all this juicy stuff in there for you. And so fruit can be really beneficial. But if you're going to start something like this, you got to start strict. It's the only way to do it. And you got to try to cut a bunch of bullshit out of your
Like I
diet.
said, the biggest thing is like you said, we talked about like being great at things earlier, and it was about like part of the discussion was cutting the non-essential out, what doesn't fit you, like that being a hard thing is tapering that out. But the other key piece is to make change in your life is don't focus on what that change is, but focus on the habits that lead to that change. Like that is going to determine your success, is the change in your habits, without a doubt. And there's several different books out there if you want to go peruse Amazon on it and like dive really big into depth. But there's tons of research around like the formation of new habits can make dramatic change in your life. Like that can, like your brother, get you off of from hardcore drug addiction.
Right.
Like it's creating those new habits can help you get there.
Try this as a new habit. Whenever you park somewhere, get the fuck out of the car. Get out of your damn car. Don't sit there and scroll. Don't sit there and scroll through Instagram or Facebook or answer text. Get your ass out of the car. Get yourself to where you're supposed to be and be present at that. If you have 5 seconds after that, then, just try to, again, accept the fact that have a conversation with yourself a little bit. Am I on Instagram too much? Yeah, maybe. Fuck. Maybe I am.
How about am I driving my car too much? How about taking a bike if you can do that?
Right.
That's a habit.
Yeah. Are you too obsessed with business and you're not paying attention to your family? Are you too obsessed with weights and you're not paying attention to your family? I mean, we're all guilty, right? Like I don't know, girls maybe have similar characteristics, but I feel like it's really guy things.
Ultimately, you have to make a lifestyle change. I mean, you went from 330 to 230.
Well,
It won't do you any good to get back up to 330. I've got a training partner that's probably lost 4,000 pounds over the last 10 years.
That's impressive.
But he's saying he's lost the same stuff, but he keeps finding it again.
Yeah.
And you've got to ultimately make a decision that you want to be healthy.
That's like drugs.
Make us all go do after lunch? today.
Yeah, we went on a nice walk. We went on
you
about
and,
a 15, 20
you
minute
and
walk.
Stan have been talking about these 10-minute
Yeah.
walks for quite some time, and it's like creating a habit of doing this to create change in your body, right?
Well, and what's hard
and
about it?
what's it brought to you?
Oh, it's been fantastic. I mean, first of all, going on walks is going to help you digest your food. So we often recommend just going for a walk after you ate. 10 minutes, who doesn't have 10 minutes? You might not think that you have 10 minutes right now, but actually when you start to peel back some of the layers and you start to really think about it, you park a little further away, you do an extra lap on your way. Even just walking around this building twice probably would take 10, 12 minutes. It might take a little bit. And so it's not that hard to do. It's something that you want to try to implement. And I like to try to do about 2 or 3 of them almost every single day. I do them at the airport. I'll do them in malls. I'll just do it wherever and whenever I can. It's good. The more that you do, the more that you can do. The more that you can handle, the more that you can take on. And you think about, we're talking about stress. Like, fuck, man, I got stress. I got this employee doing that, and I got this person over here doing that. And I need to be over here, and I got this email, and I got these things. Well, then you think about, The Rock. And you're like, well, how's he still alive? If I feel stressed now, shouldn't my fucking heart explode? If I was to handle the amount of stuff that The Rock handles. But The Rock is somebody who you see him talking about it. He's like, fuck, man, here I am in the gym. This was the hardest thing for me to do. But I got to train at 3 a.m. because I got a full day, and I just flew back from freaking Saudi Arabia or whatever the hell he's somewhere, doing press stuff or wherever he might be. And those habits are really crucial. And then to try to find things like what are some easy things that you can do, and a 10-minute walk really fits into that piece. Another thing I try to encourage people to do is just be by yourself for a little bit. Again, I can't speak on the side of women and what they need, but I think for all of us, I do think that we need some alone time. I think we really do. I think you need some time to yourself. The only way to be creative or the only way to have great ideas is to be by yourself. It's when life is on pause and when things slow down a little bit that you go, oh my God, I got to write that down. Something great just hit me. I need to do this for my business, or I need to do this with my daughter.
I call it a shower scream. I'm being in the shower by myself, and all of a sudden, oh my God, I just had a great thought.
Yeah, it's going to make you feel better. And for me, I get the honor of, at the end of every night, I get to walk with my 14-year-old son, and I get to walk with my dad. And it's a beautiful thing. We're chatting it up, And, what I'm seeing a lot of people do is they'll tag me in these things, or they'll hashtag 10-minute walks, and I'll see a lot of people will bring their spouse with them. They'll bring their significant other. They'll bring their kid with them. I'm like, this is awesome. I was not expecting that kind of response.
Really sounds almost meditative. Like your end goal is to become more present, right? I can't imagine you're going on these walks and you have your head down, like answering emails. It's like you're experiencing the things that are around you. You're experiencing the foods you're eating because you're not eating as many carbs now.
Yeah.
So it kind of seems like the big underlying message behind all of these new things you're doing is to become more present, more aware, more absorbing of your surroundings. So I think I'm
trying to become
awesome.
better. I'm trying to become more well-rounded. Again, as I pointed out in the early part of the show, was the more you hone in and focus on something like that can be really great, and that can really really be a good driver to get things moving forward and to spike things and stuff. But you also have to kind of think of what else am I going to do? The thing that I always tell people too is just a simple saying, and then what? You're going for this thing, and then what? And what's that going to lead to? For Chris doing 800 pounds in 30 days, that's amazing. You don't even need to ask the question, and then what? Because he did it for a better cause. He did it for something bigger than himself. And when you can do something that's bigger than yourself, that's what this is all about. And that's what I see from this company, just being here a short time and just seeing some of the employees here. It seems like everybody's excited to be here. And they're excited to be here because they're part of something bigger than themselves. We end up with the same thing at Slingshot. It's a great feeling. I love going into that building. I love seeing everybody's face every day. all we do is talk shit to each other and have a good time each and every day.
Yeah, we're excited to be here, but we also have Mario Kart up in the loft, and that helps.
what he was
That helps
saying.
us get
It
by.
helps him a lot.
Yeah, knocking those balloons.
No,
out.
but it's like people would think, oh, it's the Chris Duffin company or the Rudy company or whatever, and it's not at all. Like it is like we have this just common passion, and like anybody in our leadership team or whoever will like call any of us out on like, hey, that doesn't fit what we're doing. Like, or here's an issue. Here's how we could be better. I think this is the wrong decision, and we need to go down this path. Like the comfort level with doing that because it's a shared passion and vision, and
Right.
That's what the company is.
Yeah, and just, there has not been a time, with these 10-minute walks, there hasn't been a time where I've regretted it. And what's really cool about it is, I'll sit down in the gym for a second. Somebody's like, 10-minute walk, and boom, we pop up and we're out the door and we're going for a walk. And so we try to, make each other accountable for it. We try to stay on top of each other for it. And it's, again, the more that you can do, the more that you can handle. If you feel stressed, try to take on more, but try to take on more in a different avenue.
So this is
Have it be from something else.
Learn a new skill.
You're getting me motivated here because actually me and the wife have been talking about like we need to start doing this with the kids after dinner every day, like to do this, and we just haven't pulled the trigger yet.
Hey,
10-minute
And
walk.
yeah,
I gotta say,
it started today with lunch.
congratulations on that baby. That is a beautiful baby.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm not sure how I produced it, but
That is
quite.
yeah.
It's like the Gerber
Don't get
baby.
cocky.
Yeah.
You're 50% of it, buddy.
I know.
There's a better 50% out there.
Yeah.
Fortunately, she looks
Yeah.
like her mother.
Yeah.
She's super cute, man. Congratulations. That's so cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean that's all you can try to do is try to be, we're trying to be better in so many different things at one
But it's a
time.
good point. It's starting to happen. So if you have a buddy that you can work with, that you have to be accountable to somebody.
yeah.
If you're not accountable to yourself, get a buddy that will help make you accountable.
When we go on vacation, we go on trips as a team. The team will be, I think each time everyone's a little worried about like their food and their diet and what they're going to do. I think some are apprehensive on whether they're going to eat a bunch of carbs in front of me, or they're not sure exactly what they're going to do. But most of the crew is into fitness. Most of the crew is into nutrition, and a lot of times we'll come back from trips where we've gone for 4 or 5 days, and they're like, "Man, I lost 3 pounds on that trip," because they're simply just following along with what I'm doing. Well, now what happens is that most of the crew doesn't drink, and here I am. Because of the negative impact, right? But most of the crew doesn't drink, and most of the crew is now on board with their meals. And I might sit down and I might be like, man, I'm just going to let loose. I'm just going to get a pizza. And then the first guy orders and he gets a burger with no bun. And I'm like, fuck. I wanted to get a couple glasses of wine or whatever it was, and no one else orders
Well,
one.
the trick is to let your entire team order what they're going to order, and then you're like, I'll have the cheesecake at the very end. They're like,
crush
you
everything.
fucker.
Just whatever they say, just always go the
Yeah.
exact opposite. But that's part of the
Because you're
reason.
not a follower.
That's right.
There you go.
That's part of the reason, that we've had Super Training Gym was because I knew that I wasn't going to always feel like it. I knew that there was no way for me to even be halfway decent at powerlifting if it was just left to just me. I was going to need other people around me. I was going to need to see other people lift some big weights. I was going to need other people to say, hey, man, what are you doing today? And I start lifting and like, hey, you know what? You're lifting like shit today. And you're like, what? Why are you lifting like shit? And you're like, oh, I did it. We're like, fuck you. You're lifting like shit. You look awful.
That's exactly why we started what was first Elite Performance Center, but now this.
To bully people.
No, but like
I was a
we
victim.
wanted to have the right environment. Well, you're not going to be successful with not having the right people in the right environment around you to push you. And I wanted to be the best, and I knew Rudy did too. And we knew that was a piece of the puzzle. Is we need to create a space where we can have the people in the environment.
He comes
You need
in.
the right equipment. You need the right methods.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, Kabuki Strength provides both those. And the last piece is the environment and the mentality, and that's for you to figure out. So.
Well, he comes in, and he's got a meet that he wants to do, and he's got all these goals, and he comes in, and he's all sappy, and he's tired, and whatever else, and you're like, what are you, dude, get your head out of your ass. I mean, sometimes the advice might be like, hey, you know what? Yeah, let's get out of here. Let's go grab something to eat. Let's go hang out. Because sometimes that's what we need. Sometimes we literally need a break. But for the most part, you're going to be like, no, man, that's not the way it works. You set out a goal. We're here together. Here's what I'm going to do. And a lot of times you just join in with each other and you'll shut your mouth and you'll go.
Here's the program. Do it.
Yeah.
Shut up and do it.
The one
Shut up.
The one story that I like to fall back on was from our time in Chicago. This was the only time that I've ever actually been injured in training. It was just because I sat on a plane and I went and deadlifted, just tweaked my back. It was bad though. I was hobbling on Rudy.
we had to
I
carry
couldn't
you.
stand up
That's
straight.
awful.
Brady would make me laugh and I would collapse on the ground.
This is the
Somehow
night before the seminar started.
night before we're gonna teach people how to move well at the seminar. Anyway, I made it out to dinner somehow. Because I didn't have any muscle relaxers, nothing, and I hadn't seen Chris for a while because he took off right after the seminar. I look at him and I don't know how he found out. Probably because I looked like Quasimodo standing there, and he goes, "Fix it tonight," and then left. I was like, it doesn't work that way. I was like, okay, I'll try.
The arsonist.
Well,
and
I
his
could
guy.
Coach putting that pressure on you.
I got down, I tried on the floor, and didn't
couldn't
fix
get
it.
back-
I
couldn't
couldn't
get
get back up.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Holy shit.
Need to improve your listening skills.
Yeah, right.
But the fact that Brandon it was one of the best seminars we ever had, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you guys should take note of that. You guys should leave me back
No, we
more
missed you,
often.
Brandon. We missed you.
Hey man, what's this deal? I'm sure you've talked about it already, but what's this deal with this 800 pounds for 30 days? What did that feel like? Midway through some of that.
Dude, I can't describe how it was the biggest physical challenge I've ever done in my life, and it was, like I said, about that 2-week mark, every day I didn't
go,
think
"Why did I decide to do this?"
I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I could finish it. Just the level, I was sleeping the last 2 weeks 12 to 16 hours a day, and every moment I couldn't think straight. I'd be sitting there on my couch and be like, I'm gonna have some dessert. I need to get my calories in today. Got some ice cream in the fridge. Got to tempt my war on the carbs and eat, kill that. And I'd be sitting there for 15 minutes. I'm like, I haven't moved. Damn it. I'm like, 30 minutes. Chris, just lean forward. Can you pick up your arms? And my body just wasn't. I couldn't function. Every times I couldn't hold a conversation. And I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Sounds
I'm
like
done.
a mental weakness to me.
Yeah. Anyway, but the other part was when I was done squatting every day, it's not in the video. These guys saw it, but for the last 2 weeks, I couldn't
Stand erect.
I would get done with the squat and I would be here until I got help to a standing position and help to a bench because I couldn't stand. My hip was spasming hard, wanting to take. It took me to the ground sometimes right afterwards, and would take. We're good at fixing things,
Yeah.
luckily. So it would be 30,
work
45 minutes worth of work to get that opened up so I could even stand and walk so I could get home. And then all day, every day was just that became I wasn't around basically because it was either I was doing, I was sleeping
Yeah.
or I was doing rehab work or prehab work or I was squatting, and that was it. And it was fucking tough.
That's insane.
If you ask me now, can it be done? I think it's impossible. I did it, and maybe the only time that you could do it is in the moment, because it's fucking impossible. I don't know how else to describe
just
it.
tell all your listeners out there,
Don't do it.
Don't do this.
Don't do it.
Don't do this at
Don't
home.
do it.
You think about
And everyone's like, oh, well, that's 90% of your max or whatever. If you've got a 400-pound squat or 500, the impact on your joints and ligaments and nervous system and all that, it's not relative.
It's the difference between 400 and 800 pounds.
Exactly. It's not. The strength level may
So
be
validated now.
but it's not just that equation of this is a percentage of your strength. There's more to it because it is just more weight, and it's still a human body. It's still
Right.
it's the human nervous system that doesn't change. So.
no,
But
800
the
pounds
purpose
is a long
of
way.
doing it, though, was I think what kept you driving you.
Well,
Was the why. Why did he do this? Not so he could show everybody he could do 800, but he did it because he wanted to challenge himself greater than what these Special Olympians have to do every day for their entire life. Not for 30 days, but for their entire life.
Right.
They have a handicap that they have to work through every single day. So Chris wanted to challenge himself to even sort of approximate that. in our effort to raise money for Special Olympics, which has been great. And by the way, we still have the GoFundMe page up, and
Yep.
we've exceeded our original goal by like 6 times already. So it's great.
Yep.
Well, I think
Thank
we're-
you for sacrificing yourself, Chris, to do that.
When it you know, like when it comes to hard workouts, you know, like a lot of us have done, you know, 10 sets of 10 and 5 sets of 5, and you these workouts that rip you apart. You know, some of us have tried bodybuilding style workouts where you're doing leg presses and lunges and leg extension, leg curls, and you can't get up the stairs, and you have all this kind of, you know, this just real like muscle tearing type workouts. Did that feel like that, or is that more like tendon, ligament, like I'm just jacked up?
There was definitely some of that going on as well. So the sartorius, the adductors, probably took the biggest toll on it. So I had to do regular work on those, just trying to clear it, getting ready. Everything was, as soon as I finished the workout, it was all about prepping for the next one. Like, I've got to start now, and I've got to start, like, you know.
How did you even warm up for that?
Well,
I mean,
to keep
doing
in
it
mind,
every
he doesn't walk in and just get under 800 pounds. You get the warm up is, you know,
An hour?
400, 500,
No,
600.
it wasn't that.
Well, you did
10
you
minutes
had
or
some-
less.
He had 600 pounds.
So I actually started cutting the warm-ups back significantly because of that, because of the cumulative.
It's annoying and frustrating,
I knew
too.
I couldn't handle, like, so much, like, all that volume of the warm-ups is going to add up. So
yeah, one
so
plate,
I-
2 plates.
Well, he
so
took
on.
over an entire squat rack for a month
Yeah,
and left
I
the
just
bar
left
with
the bar on it.
100-pound plates loaded
Nobody
on
wanted
it.
to load and unload 800
Yeah.
pounds.
So I would do, like, the biggest toll was on basically my core. Everything from the hips to here, like, was just shredded. And so it was really about kind of prepping that and the oblique sling and everything working. So I did shoulder rock work and some shoulder rock anti-irritation drills, did a little bit of breathing drills to kind of get the erectors and diaphragm and all that working first. And it got less and less. So by the last week, I was doing 4 sets of 5 with 255. And then I did put my wraps on, and I did 600, and then I did 800.
So you just condition yourself to really chop those warm-ups down.
I was trying to do everything. I figured out in my warm-up sequence, like the 4 sets of 5 got me the good blood flow, everything kind of prepped and ready. Then all the other workouts were around getting all the firing and all like everything working the way that it needs to for that you would normally accomplish by doing 4, 5, 6, 7, right? I wouldn't recommend this, and it was a risky strategy. But it cut down the total volume of the month and actually started towards the end actually reducing my pain towards the end. So
It's fucking just absolutely, it's a crazy feat, you know. Was there anything you were doing specifically for recovery? Like, were you, you know, getting in a hot tub or like, I don't know, anything in particular to try to recover from it?
Yeah.
Or just-
So Epsom salt bath. As soon as I got, so we do the soft tissue work immediately afterwards I wanted to have the least amount of time non-functional. So do that lift, I can't walk, I can't stand, get cleaned up, get the hip moving so I can feel good. And then it went home, Epsom salt bath. Then I would run the Mark Pro unit, collagen peptides, turmeric, and CBD were like daily staples. Had a huge impact on keeping the level of inflammation pain down and actually providing the raw components for recovery as well. So those were kind of the big things. One, using our pain pill and boomstick during the course of that. I wore passive compression to help with the recovery aspect as well. So our bands wrapped around. You sell the
compression cuff, yeah.
the
like a
compression
hammy
cuff
band,
up,
yeah.
Yep, right up there. So great tools for that sort of stuff. So did that during the training. And then, post-training was just that exact mix of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's brutal to try to take on a workout like that. I can't even imagine. I mean, I know, like,
I just
when
dreaded it. Like, at the end, I was just, oh my God, I got to do this. I don't want to do it.
One more time.
What was your like your back? Like, did you have any injuries as you were going along? Or you handled
It was
okay?
pretty good. About 2.5 weeks, maybe, 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks. This wasn't holding as well.
Core was shot.
Core was shot, and I think I got in some compromised position, so there was some damage and stretching the ligaments in the back. So we've got in-house care. So we've got a chiropractor named Francesca. She's actually helping with design of some. There's some products that we use, some scraping tools and other stuff that were really essential we were using the prototype during
Oh,
our
that's
process,
cool.
so which was absolutely fabulous. So that'll be coming out at some point. But that actually we used for cleaning that up, and then after that session, I did take a day off. So day 22, after 3 weeks, I took a day off, and it was after that. Did the cleanup work, and then I didn't have any back issues after that.
I think
that extra day just gave me the ability to regroup here and be able to pressurize and hold the position. So
I think we sometimes kind of like undersell pain. You know, you were saying your elbow hurt, and we start to get used to it, and we think it's like part of the territory. Like, I'm just, my back's supposed to hurt when I deadlift, or this is supposed to.
Yeah,
There's some reason.
No.
Right, and
that's a signal to find what's wrong. Like,
yeah, and it seems to be like when we try to encourage other people to get involved in powerlifting, or we try to encourage people to get involved in some form of fitness, a family member or whatever it is, and they're like, yeah, I want to do that, but my knee hurts. We don't know, we know what it's like to be in pain, and we know what it's like to push through it, but we don't know what it's like from their perspective because they're out of the game. They're not in the game. When you're in the game, you're like, okay, some of this is part of it. I do need to take care of myself better because it shouldn't be part of it. I must be having a mechanical breakdown somewhere, or maybe my weights are too heavy for this particular time. There's reasons for it, right? But to that relative and some of those other people, man, we forget how negative pain is. It's such a negative feedback. You're like, fuck this, I don't want to do this.
Pain's constant too for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You can't turn it off. It's something that's always on your mind, and you avoid activities or positions, and that's kind of what we were opening up with.
Which can beget other injuries as well.
yeah. Well, that's the one thing I don't want to sell by telling that story. There is that you should push through the pain. You should do that's not the message at all that needs to be sent to. So we're really clear about if you've got pain or you're starting to lose mobility in areas, it means that you've got movement quality issues, and you need to go fix those.
Right.
Like, you should not have to be in pain. Strength should actually make you better if you're doing it right. So.
And it's a good idea for people that are listening too. Like, if you should have your workouts should be relatively pain free. That should be the goal. I was told a while back, you're at a scale of 1 to 10, really shouldn't be exceeding like a 3. And if you are exceeding a 3 on any particular exercise, get off of it. Do something else. There's almost always another option to do another movement that'll still benefit you in that particular lift.
So many people think that they should go into a workout and destroy it and destroy themselves. It should be like your job. You just went to work on Monday. You need to push yourself and get work done and feel like you accomplished something. Mm-hmm. But you should walk away going, I feel good. I feel ready for tomorrow because I got Tuesday. I got Wednesday. Like, it should be like your job.
I like that. I feel ready for tomorrow. That's a big deal.
It is. Yeah.
Lee Haney, famously said, you're in there for stimulation, not annihilation. And I think everyone's like, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to kill the day. And it's unfortunate because they see clips sometimes of us going overboard and us getting excited, but they kind of also sometimes maybe don't have the understanding. Like, we've been doing it for 20 years, and our roll of the dice is actually sometimes much different. If you want to go for 1,000-pound deadlift or something like that, a lot of preparation. There's a lot of things that go into that, and it's not so much of a roll of the dice as somebody might think. Because when
it's a calculated risk, not a roll of the dice.
Right.
It's a calculated
It's not
risk.
kill the day. It's
That's why,
win the day.
Those last 2 weeks, I was hurt, but I got out of pain immediately afterwards, and mentally I wasn't prepared. But I didn't make the decision until it was the next day, ready to warm up, going, how do I feel? Right. That's just it's a calculated risk, and if I ever felt that I was at the point that I was going to break down. The plug is going to be pulled. It's not worth that. It's not worth it. This is a raise awareness. It's a fundraiser. I do push myself much harder than I suggest anybody does. But this is my job. This is my livelihood, and this is what I do. And I'm an elite level, strength athlete. This is not something for everybody
don't try this
to make those. But at the same time, they were calculated risks. Every day when I went to squat, I knew I was going to make it through that day.
Right. Yeah, I always think too, just little things, like just try to hold yourself to a higher standard. Whatever it is you're doing now, whatever you're executing on now, don't get overwhelmed. Don't think, oh man, I got to be, better at these 7 different things right away. just try to be a little bit better each day at some different things. Start to build those habits. Those habits end up becoming part of our willpower, and when your willpower is strong, it ends up being kind of a reservoir of strength that you can kind of rely on in any period of time in your life, even during periods of time where you might have a crisis or something like that. And so as you build that up, it starts to become part of your character. And then at that point, you're well-rounded and you're stronger than ever, and people will look at you and be like, wow, I don't understand, like, this guy's already, like, in good shape, or this guy's already really strong. Why does he care about getting stronger? Or this guy's already lean. Why is he not eating any carbs, or whatever? Or you're already wealthy, you're already successful. Why are you pushing forward on that? It's because you built these habits, and you're you want to be sure that you're not halfway crazy about those things either. But they're goals, they're points on the scoreboard.
Well, I think I have no idea literally how we're doing on time because they left us in here with no clock.
I think we're way over our
They locked us
time,
in.
but it's good stuff. It's all good stuff. Hey, Mark, tell us what do you got on the drawing boards? Anything that you can tell us without killing us?
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm really excited about going to the UK, and I'm going to Body Power, and there'll be a lot of fans out there that'll be excited because I've never been over there before. So I'll be going to that event. I'm super pumped about that, and then and I'm going over with my family too. So it's a family vacation. Yeah. That's something I try to share with people too. Is like just being inclusive, rather than excluding your family from it. If you include them, it might make things at home a little easier. If they know who you're hanging around, they know who you're with. It might help solve some issues you may have at home. But that's always been something that I've enjoyed, because to let my family kind of see some of the stuff that I do. From a business standpoint, we created a newer slingshot more recently called the Slingshot Push-Up. A very similar design to the original slingshot, but this one, again, this was something I made about 4 or 5 years ago. I left it on the back burner for a while, so I'm like, this is going to kind of confuse things. It's going to add SKUs. I don't need more products right now. I need more execution. And so I held on to that for a while, and now with the way you can market social media-wise, this is a product I can kind of drive out to women, newer lifters, maybe some heavier people that have struggled with a push-up and struggle with lifting their own body weight. And so that's a product I'm really excited about. We have that available on our site now. And then just, constantly trying to make things better. Just looking at a product and saying, how do we improve that? How do we make that product last longer? How do we make that product provide more value to our fans and to the customers that we have? And so, one of the things we're messing with right now is called an X sleeve, which is a sleeve we've been working on for a while. X stands for extreme, so it's an extreme sleeve. That's what we've been messing with, and it has a lot to do with the type of powerlifting gear that we wore back in the day. So, and there's some other things that are involved in this particular knee sleeve that make it special and make it unique. So I'm really excited about that. Sometime next year we'll get everything approved by the USAPL/IPF, which is basically just us writing them a check for $50,000 or whatever it is. Yeah. That whole thing has been, that's supposed to be one of our leaders in this space, and in my opinion, there's a piece of trash, because I know for a fact they've taken money under the table from another company. Not going to name any names, but you can read between the lines on that one. And I just think it's my biggest problem with it, and the reason why I'm pissed about it, is that it's unfair to the lifters. The lifters don't have choices on wearing other people's products. And so for me, I think that's really annoying, because let the lifters wear what they feel. You know how it is being underneath that bar. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know that you'll make all kinds of different knee wraps, and you'll pull it from this and pull it from that.
I love your sleeves, by the way. They're my
Oh, awesome. So. But you're gonna wear like what you feel the most comfortable in at that moment, and so for me, it's a super annoying process. But anyway, all that stuff's going good. Adding more products, adding more people to our roster, trying to just continue to learn more, and trying to just continue to be. It's a little cliche, but just trying to be more appreciative. My father-in-law passed away on Monday, and that hit the family really hard. Hit my wife really hard, and just those kind of things make you pump the brakes a little bit and make you go, oh man, life is precious. Maybe I should enjoy things a little bit more. Having my brother pass away years ago kind of helped lead me to a more, I guess you'd say, like enlightened life. So just enjoy some of the stuff that you're going through. Going to the gym shouldn't make you mad. You don't have to work out pissed off. Your drive to the gym, you don't need to drive like a maniac and be all hyped up on pre-workout to get to the gym. You should be excited about going to the gym. Hey, man, it's an opportunity for me to get better, those kind of things. So anyway, you can find me at Mark Smelly Bell on Instagram and Twitter.
Excellent. Well, we really appreciate having you on the show. And like I said, absolutely fabulous that you're on our first video one. So that'll stand forever. So
Forever.
You're number one. And you're generally a nice guy. We appreciate that, my friend.
Last but not least, anybody that ever wants to come check out the gym. I know you said you're in Sacramento here and there. Mm-hmm. The gym's free. Super Training Gym is free. Instagram us. It's at Super Training Gym. Just shoot us a message. Let us know you want to come by. And that's pretty much it.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, that's a wrap, I guess. Thanks
That's
again, Mark.
Yeah.
We're out of
Thank you, guys.
whiskey. Podcast over.